Yep.
Is the web version of Microsoft Project the same? Because you get that free through uni.
Do you?
Yeah. So you get the web version of it, like.
Because I checked my one and it said it.
Oh.
Have a look.
Lucky.
I checked the Microsoft 3. Actually, tell me because that makes life so much easier. The Microsoft 365 package that we have does not include Project, which is a pain in the butt. The other thing you can do is you can go and sign up for the free version. So Microsoft Project has a free version for 30 days, but you have to register with them, you have to give them your credit card, and you have to remember to cancel the damn thing before the 30 days comes up, otherwise you just signed up for life. So you can do that, you can get Microsoft Project on the free version for 30 days, and that's all it should take for your project. So you've got some options. So, what Microsoft Project does. So to find Microsoft Project on your computers, you should have all found it by now. If you just go there, it should be sitting on your computer. Project. So it'll be called Project. And so you should click on Project and get up to a screen like this. Okay, is everyone there? Okay, have you all got the handout? So, does anyone else not have the handout? Okay, so first of all, let's tell you what Microsoft Project is. So, Microsoft Project is a numerical model. What you're doing here is you're working on a very sophisticated interface that is allowing you to interact with a numerical model, which provides a numerical model that you can use to design a schedule for your project. And so, while it presents pretty pictures, it's not only a presentation package, it is a design package. It is what you use to optimize your design. So it's not just providing a pretty picture, that's not the thing, it's coming up with an optimal design, so that's what you're looking for. So what you will do with Microsoft Project is you will come up with a Gantt chart, and then you look at it and say, you know what, I can make this better, this plan better by doing this or by doing this. So you might look at it, do the first run through, and you say, oh, it's taking 15 weeks, but we've only got 12 weeks to do the project. So I need to reduce the duration of the project to 12 weeks. How can I do that? So when I do it, I sort of put in the durations, I put in the sequencing, and I come up with 15 weeks to do the project. What can I do to make the project shorter? Do it in 12 weeks. Okay, so one thing you could do is add resources. If you have more resources, what happens to the duration of a task, of a work package? Kinds of simple stuff. What happens when you add resources to a task? Does it get longer or shorter? Shorter. So you shorten it by adding resources. You have critical, non-critical tasks. Which ones are you going to focus on?
Critical.
Why?
Yeah, this is the key point.
They're required.
Sorry?
You need it done faster.
Yeah, so the critical tasks are the ones that influence how long the project's going to take. If you can reduce a critical task by a week, you've reduced the project time by a week. So that's what you would focus on first of all, is trying to do that. So Microsoft doing this design is not a once-through project like any design. It is, you give it a go, you look at it, you think, you know what, I can fix that. You go through again, and you keep on going around and around and around the circle until you come up with the optimal design. In this case, the optimal design of a schedule. Okay, it's an iterative process. Engineering is not a once-through and then it'll do. Okay, that is slack engineering, that is rubbish engineering. Good engineering takes you a couple of goes to make it the best possible design you can possibly come up with. Right, so let's get started. So setting up MS project. So first of all, let's just get into the blank project thing there. So we're just going to start up with a blank project. Now, you can see, I've blown it up a bit, so you can see that what we've got here is we've got we've got a table and we've got a chart. The table and the chart work together. When you're doing your project, I want to see the table and the chart together. Sometimes students will give me a couple of pages of the chart, of the table, and a couple of pages of the chart. Doesn't make any sense. This is just a whole lot of bars, this is just a whole lot of numbers. That only makes sense when they are side by side. So one of your challenges is to present your Gantt chart so it is all on one page, and I suggest you use an A3 size paper with maybe 30 or so tasks. So the first thing we need to do, so the thing about Microsoft Project is Microsoft totally produced the ideal package for civil engineers in 2007. Okay, totally aced it. And the trouble is, when you're a company like that and you totally ace it in 2007, what do you sell people in 2010? So what they've been doing ever since is they've been adding features and making it more complicated, and it does this and it does that. And so what we've ended up with is a really sophisticated piece of software which is far more sophisticated and more complicated than what us poor civil engineers need. And so the first thing we do is we're going to dumb this thing down until it works like it did in 2007, because that's all we need to do when we're civil engineers. Okay, so the first bit is go in there and go into File. By the way, I'm just following along what's on here, okay? So go into File, and in the file down the bottom there, if you click on More, you get into Options. So File, Options. Okay, so you can see that the Options bit gives you several things. So default view is a Gantt chart, the date format, so you can give it different formats. The display, you can change the chart. So if you are working outside of Western countries, you can do these different calendars there, so you've got different calendar options there. The Gregorian calendar is the one that's used in the West. You can say dollars, we're doing New Zealand dollars, and that sort of stuff like that. The thing that we really want to get to here is the schedule. Okay. So you're looking at the schedule. So you can alter the way it works, but Monday, January start. This doesn't really matter, because in civil engineering we are not working in hours, we work in days. That is the smallest time period we use, is days. Don't split it into half days or hours or anything like that. Hours is if you're doing computing or one of those things where it makes different. In engineering, civil engineering, we work in days, weeks, months. Okay? Hours per day. So once again, this is stuff that's pretty sophisticated. You're probably not going to use it, but what we do need to do is change some of these things. So new task created, manually scheduled. So what that is it's like using it as a drawing package. We don't want to do that. We want it to be a numerical model, so we're going to change that to auto schedule. So what that means is that this thing is going to automatically produce a numerical model rather than just a pretty picture. The next thing is duration is entered in days, work is entered, and I'll change that to days anyhow because I'm there. Now the next one is default units. We want to go to fixed duration. What happens with Microsoft Project is it gets all fancy. This is the fancy stuff they added. If you add resources, it starts mucking around with the durations. What you're going to do is you're going to calculate the duration separately and input them into it, and you do not want Microsoft Project stuffing around with your durations. you change the durations, you don't want Microsoft Project to be doing automatically. And just that split in progress tasks, just get rid of that too. So we've auto-scheduled it, changed that to days, or changed that to fixed durations. All good? You can see that there's other stuff there, language, advanced. It's advanced, I don't know. Yeah, so once again, this is just Microsoft adding stuff to it. So go OK, and so now it's all done. Right, you with me so far? So all we've done is we've just made the thing, removed all the stuff, and taken it back to 2007 like it should be. The next thing we're going to do is project information. So you can see that this is just a Microsoft thing. You've got the tabs on the top. The file is, we just looked at that. The tasks are working with the work packages. The resources we're not really going to use, but you can actually add resources to it. You can produce reports, which you're not going to do. So the task and the project are the ones you're going to work with most. So let's move to the project, and we're going to put in some project information. Now the first thing here is start date. The start date is what day is your project starting on. So let's make it Monday next week. So we'll just go in and change it to there. 16. Whoops. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Now, you've changed it to 16. That is the only time you are going to enter a date. You are not going to enter dates in the package at all. So there are several rules that you need to listen to and pay attention to, otherwise your pack, it's just going to go wrong. And it takes a lot to unpick what went wrong with Microsoft Project. So all of a sudden you push a button and it all just looks crazy. And the only way you can unpick it is go unpick until you get back to somewhere where you know what's going on. Because trying to troubleshoot what's happened in Microsoft Project is really hard. Okay, so you just have to go backwards and undo everything you did until you get back to something you did before. One of the things that you can do to stuff it all up is to put a date in. Because what the date does is now Microsoft Project says whatever happens, whatever is the most, forget about what is the most efficient way to do this job, this task has to happen on this day. And whatever you do to the resources and stuff like that, it will stay there like a rock. Okay? What you're trying to do is you're trying to do a mathematical model which when you start making adjustments, it'll adjust automatically to whatever it is. You put a date in there and all of a sudden you've just constricted the whole process and it's not going to be able to automatically calculate stuff. Because what you'll see when we do it later on is once you've done the model, you can start changing things. You can change this to 2, this was 2 weeks, now we're going to make it 1 week because we've got extra resources. Okay, and the whole model will recalculate and show you when the end date's going to be. That's the magic of it. You can say, well, what about if I make it 3 weeks? So you can keep on experimenting with it, do what ifs. If you've got a date in there which is fixed, that whole thing doesn't work. Okay? So, rule number 1, do not enter any more dates other than your start date. Okay, I'll tell you a couple more. I told the group before that, and the first thing someone did was they entered the date thing and wondered what went wrong. Okay, so what we're going to do now is project information. So let's, looking at this, when you're doing by the way, the word task there, task is just another word for work package. Okay, it can mean a work package or it can mean a summary task, and we'll look at those in a minute. And you can see that we've got task mode, that you'll see that in a minute. So what we want to do here is what's missing is the WBS number. So work breakdown structures, every task, whether it be a summary task or it be a work breakdown, a work package, needs to have its own distinct identifier, the work breakdown structure number, the WBS number. So they haven't given us, this is a default version, they haven't given us that, so what we're going to do now is we're going to input it. So to import a column, so you can see that what we've got here is we've just got the default column. So they've gone and stuck all these things in. You can remove them, you can change them, you know, it's not cast in stone, it's just the default. So we want to put a WBS column in here. So I go to the columns to the right of it, I right click and insert column. Then I go down and find WBS and I put it in. So I went to the column to the right of where I wanted to insert it, right click, insert column, and then I selected WBS. So just looking at this, you can actually alter the, so this bit along the top here, this ribbon, that's where you can change it, so you can make it thinner, you can make that a bit bigger if you want to. Okay, so you're with me so far? Right, so we've got our WBS in. Now we've set it all up. Now we're going to start doing the interesting stuff. And what we're doing is we are going to enter this project here. So, sorry, I should have given you separate sheets. You might want to just rip it off. So we're going to do this one here, okay? So what I've done here is this one I've already determined what the work breakdown structure is. I've already determined what the durations are. Now, in real, when you're doing your assignment, you're going to have to figure out what the work breakdown structure is, and you're going to have to figure out the durations, and that's what we'll talk about today. But what we're going to do now is we're going to enter this, and we're going to pretend like I haven't given you the answer already. I'm going to walk you through the work breakdown structure development process. And the way you develop the work breakdown structure is you take the whole project and you break it into big bits. Okay, so you remember when Stuart presented it, we had a road, and so we broke it down into a berm, the pavement, the driveways, just the big bits. Okay, and then we look at those big bits, we say, are they the size of a work package? No, they're not. We're going to break those big bits down. But the important thing is, you break it down into big bits, you look at those big bits and say, do they cover the whole scope of the project? And when you can say yes, that those 3 or 4 big bits, level 2 tasks, that they cover the full scope of the project, then and only then you start breaking down each one of them. The reason why you do that is, if you just took it and say, looking at the road example, if you just looked at it and said, okay, well there's a road there, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that road and I'm going to break it down into little bits, and then I'm going to look at the other bits, okay, well there's a berm there, I'm going to take that berm and break it down into little bits. What happens if you do it that way, you don't take the whole project, break it down, then take each bit and break it down, is stuff slips through the cracks. It might be that you sort of say, okay, we're going to look at the whole road here, okay, I've got this, and this, and I'm going to look at the berm with this. You end up missing stuff. Stuff will fall through the cracks, like for example the curb. So you might say, okay, well I've got the road, I've got the berm, I've forgotten that. So each time you're making that, breaking it down, you're actually checking and saying, have I covered the whole scope of the project? What are the consequences of missing something out? If you say, miss the curb and channel. You haven't included it. You haven't included it in your Gantt chart, so you haven't included the time required to do it. So now your program is going to be inadequate. It's not going to, I've got the curb and channel to do. We didn't allow for that time, so you're going to run over time. You haven't allowed for the cost of that curb and channel. And so therefore your budget's going to look pretty sick as well. Okay, so it's important that you break it down and break it down again. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go through that process, even though I've given you the answers. So the first thing that I've taken is I've looked at that whole project and I've said that there's three big bits there. One is commissioning. The next one is design. And the next one is construction. So I look at that and I say, do those three big bits together comprise the whole scope of the project? Yes or no? Okay. So now once I'm satisfied that they do, I then add some more columns. So to add columns, so there's this ribbon along the top here where you're mucking around with the columns, and there's a bit down the side where you're dealing with the rows. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to left click and I'm going to highlight a couple of rows, and I'm going to right click and put insert task. So it's given me insert task, so I'm going to give it the first ones, which is I'm going to break down the commissioning. So I know there's a client briefing. And I'm going to do the next one, which is a client approval. So now I look at those two things and I say, together, do they comprise the commissioning big bit? Yes or no? Yes, they do. So now at present, you can see that the WBS, it thinks that these are at the same level as the commissioning. So what we need to do is we need to tell it that these are children of the commissioning, that they are one level below it. So what we do is we highlight it, go to task, and we, where is it? Sorry, I haven't done this for a while. Oh, there it is. Can't find the indent.
More to the left. One more.
Oh, there it is. Okay. So we indent them. So there it is there, okay? So we indent it. So notice that it went from being 1 to 1.1, which means it is a child task to commissioning. This one here, I indent that as well. So what I've done is I have broken the whole project down into big bits. I've taken that big bit and I've broken that down into two, and then when I've convinced myself that those two form the whole scope of this, I have indented them. So now we've got 1, 1.1, 1.2, which is the WBS project marking. Okay, so what we can do now is we can, those other two tasks are irrelevant, so I'm just going to highlight them both and I'm going to delete them. Now I want to sort of put some stuff in for the design. So I'm just going to plonk some more tasks in there. And I'm going to put those in. So preliminary design. Building permit. Construction drawings. And I did it. So have you all done that? Are you stuck at it?
哎，你现在没有换天，没有改进性。
Yeah, the date's alright. That's fine.
这个
不是没有，跟那个没关系。 跟那个没关系。
So you make the and then what do you do after that?
奇怪了，只是我在上面也是。
是这个 finish date
Well,
They
Steve,
bring in-
you catch up.
这边他不给我忘了。
So I'll have to waste it with other one.
你有没有碰这个？你没碰过？
没有？
我看到你跟我的不一样。
Yeah.
这个没事。这个
So start from this.
And keyboard functions where you try to highlight over that right
That's all right here.
here. Yeah.
Okay, so indeed those.
Indeed.
看起来没事。
Indeed those. So there's one right in here.
Oh, there, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, so those pass. That's the top.
这个也不能，这个不能改。
是为什么？
哦，
你叫他来弄用什么？
Indeed those.
要不你看我的人。为什么？关上。
Yep. So put the construction ones into if you're waiting for the others. I'm just looking at design. Have I? So I've done the design. So I look at that and I say, have I included everything? Have I included everything there? What have I missed? So I've missed one there. I've missed the detailed design. So I look at that and go, oh, look at that. I missed detailed design. So that's what I mean about doing it one bit at a time. You go, okay, I've got to put the detailed design in. So all I do is I go down to the bit below it, I right click and I insert another task. So you can actually sneak tasks into there if you like. So it's not a once through process, it's looking at it, going, oh wait a minute, I need to add this or need to add that. So the work breakdown structure, it's not something you do in 5 minutes, you spend a lot of time thinking about how you're structuring it. Because the effectiveness of what you come up with is going to come down to the structure, how you're going to sort of proceed through with it. Okay,
Word 我重新打开了一个。
可以。
like everyone's getting there. So put the construction ones in while you're at it. Okay, so that's where we should be. Okay. Is everyone there? What are you doing?
Because like he's coming up with 0 day.
No, don't touch that. Okay, rule number 2, do not touch the summary tasks. Okay, you've gone ahead, and you've stuffed it up, so not sure what to do. Just indent all those ones and you'll be alright. Okay. Have you been mucking around with those? Have you changed those numbers there, have you? No. Okay. Okay, so you can see that what you've got there is you've got these ones here that are not bolded, and these ones here that are bold. So what's happened is when you indented it, what it did was it moved those over and said those are children tasks. So what this is a summary task. It summarises everything that's here. It does not add them up. So it doesn't. This number here is not 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1. It says these tasks here. How long is it going to take? At present, it says one day. Okay. So rule number 1 was do not change the dates. Rule number 2 is do not touch the summary tasks. Everything you do is done through the work packages, which are these. These are not, you don't put durations in here, you don't put links in here, you do not touch anything that's bold. So, 2 rules. Do not touch the dates, do not touch the summary tasks. The system will automatically calculate them itself. Okay, so everyone update. So what we're going to do now is we're going to put the durations in. The thing to note here is that that those durations are provided in weeks. So there's 5 days per week. So while task number 1.1 is 1 week, that's 5 days. So you can do one of 2 things. You can either put in 5 days, in which case put in 5, or you can put in 1 week, and it's going to sort of do the same thing. But let's just sort of convert it to days ourselves. So 5 days. Okay. So you can see that when we did that, it extended the bar, and because the summary that family there is now 5 days long, the summary task is also extended by 5 days. Now the other thing is the client approval is a 0 duration. It's an event. So An event is a milestone. So we use milestones, which is what those triangular, those diamond-shaped things are. A milestone gives you a particular event. Now, what we should have done is we should have started this with project start and made it a milestone, but we didn't do it because that was confuse things. But you should start with that, and then there should be a project, one at the end where you say project finished, and you make that a milestone. A milestone tells you where you are. This is simple. This is just 5 tasks. A real world one might be running to about a couple of hundred tasks. So if you're building a building, for example, there'd be all sorts of stuff. There'd be people laying the floor, there'd be people building the columns, there'd be people doing this and doing that. So there's lots and lots of things all happening together. So you're not sure if you're ahead of time or behind time. What you can say is when we've finished everything on the first floor, that's the date it should be finished at. We should finish the columns and finish this. So you say all these tasks here, when they're all finished, that's when that milestone happens, when we've finished the first floor. So when you're building it, you would look at it and say, okay, this is the date we should have finished the first floor, this is the date we have finished the first floor. Generally we're behind or generally we're ahead. Okay, so the milestone allows you to bring all of those different things that are happening into one event where you can say, am I ahead of time or behind time? It's like when you're driving from here to, say, Wellington. You might say, okay, at 10 o'clock we should be in Hamilton. At 12 o'clock we should be in Taupo. At Palmerston North we should be there at 3 o'clock. So you're driving along and then you're saying, well, that was the plan. Oh, look, it's 10 minutes past 12, we're in Hamilton, we're now 10 minutes behind time. So it's like driving a car where you've sort of got all these way stops along the way. The reason why it's called a milestone is in the olden days, they're still there, if you were walking to London in the 16th century or something like that, you would be walking along the road and all of a sudden beside the road would be a stone and it would have London 10 miles. Okay, and you walk another mile, another stone, London 9 miles. So people always knew how far away they were from London by the milestones. It's a stone every mile. So that's what we're talking about. It's a navigation way. It tells you where you are. In the case of this thing, it tells us when we are. Are we ahead of time or are we behind time? Okay, so that's what the milestone is. And I just put that in there. This is the date we have to do it. If I haven't got the client approval by that date there, I've got a problem because the whole thing's going to run behind time. So it reminds you, am I ahead of time or behind time? Okay, so let's just put all those durations in. Remember, you are not touching the summary task. The summary task is determined by the other ones. Now you're going to have to multiply them by 5 if you're going to put in days. Or you can just put in 5W. And I'm just going to put this project finish in as a date. Okay. Has anyone run out of screen yet? So if you want to reduce the screen, once you're running out of room, then this thing in the bottom right hand corner, the slider here allows you to change the times. So notice here it's showing it as on days. If I slide it to the left, it's showing tighter, and now it's showing every 2 days. Now it's showing every week. So that slider there allows you to sort of change the timing on it all. Okay, is everyone with me so far? So you've put all the dates in? Good. Okay.
黑色的这个不要动，实际上不要动黑色的，黑色的不要动。然后其他的就往后倒一些。
If you're finding that the line is too short, you can actually
因为这个全部都是 big， 你算是对。没事没事，就打翻，
okay, so everyone's
打翻就 OK 了。
但是我这个上面不是对的呀。
没事，你打它就好。
Okay, so everyone's good.
一共3W，
我这打3W。
全部3区，3W enter， 3 big， 然后就打，因为错了，在下面的，你打错了。
So it's 3 weeks. You can put in 3W, or you can put in 3 just images. Just go back up to it. Now it's type 15. It's type 15.
上面一样的。
The summary task is not adding it up. The summary task is showing the extent of it. As I said, don't worry about the summary tasks. Summary tasks will sort themselves
这
out.
个没更新，它这儿还是
That continuously stuff. You can't get into something.
He got one over there.
Pardon?
He got one over there, like overdue.
I don't know what you've done. Did you put something in the? Did you?
No, not at all.
I've got no idea. I don't know how you got that red line there. Okay, let's just move on. As I said, you pushed the wrong button on this thing and you're pretty well stuffed. Okay, so what we're doing now is we are going to put in the... So you notice that what we've got here is we've got 15 days plus... I just put in weeks. So we've got a long weekage, but the summary only recognises that. So what the summary is saying is those tasks are all happening together. So over that period of time, those are all going to happen together, but we know that they're not because they're going to end up in a sequence. So now we need to put in the predecessors and successors. So the way we do that is we only work with the work packages. So we start the client briefing, and the client approval is the there. So I highlight that, then I press Control, and I left click on the next one. Then I go to Task, and I make that link. So those two links that are together, I make the link there. Okay, so I'll show you again for the next one. So the next one, the preliminary design, that's the predecessor. Finger on control, go to the successor, hit the link, and then it provides the link there. So when you've got ones like 3.2 where there's 3 or 4 different links in, there's more predecessors or successors, you are able, you just do each one at a time. So so systematically go through and do it. So the next one there is I click the predecessor, click on the successor, make the link. Okay. So carry on. Notice that 2.3 has 2.1 as the predecessor. So I click on the predecessor, finger on control, click on the successor, make the link. Okay, so have a go at that. So click on the predecessor, finger on control, click on the successor, make the link. What's the problem? Escape.
부단님 그쪽부터 뒤로 좀 해요.
没事，因为别动，他等着干嘛？ 因为会出现东西跟我们不一样。会出现的东西跟我不一样。
So make the link. So highlight on the predecessor. Yep. Yeah. Click control. Go to the successor. Yep. Yep. Then go to task. Okay. Just do all of them. When there's multiple ones, you just click on each one. So click on the predecessor. No. Click on the predecessor. Okay, what's the next one you're going to do? So that one there is the successor, right? So what's the predecessor for that one? So you're on 2.1. Okay, so what's the predecessor for it? 1.2. So click on 1.2. The predecessor at 1.2. So now control. Okay, so escape.
I don't know.
Press on the predecessor first. And click on the control. When you're highlighting them, make sure you highlight the predecessor first, then the successor. If you do it the reverse, it will do it the reverse. So if you highlighted the successor and then the predecessor, it's going to do it like that. So try that. Try doing it backwards, because you'll find that Microsoft Project says the first one that's highlighted is the predecessor, the second one that's highlighted is the successor. So if you don't highlight them in that order, then it goes backwards. Okay, so got that? Okay, so the next, so 2.1, that's the predecessor for that. Okay, so highlight 1.2. Yeah, predecessor first. So what's the predecessor? 1.2. And then the successor. Highlight that. And there's one of them that's got 3 links to it. Do each link separately. It's like sewing. You do one stitch at a time. You don't try to do all 3 links in one go. You do each stitch at a different time. So, if you want to unlink it, actually, where are you? So, okay. Just go in there and delete it. No. If you want to cheat, if you make a mistake, the easiest, there is an unlink option there where you can highlight the two if you want to unlink them. So I just made this link here. I can actually go through and I can unlink it. So you can see I've just changed it. But what you can also do is if you've stuffed up, then you can go into this predecessor column here and just delete it. Okay, and that's the other way of deleting it. So the predecessor column says, okay, for this one, the building permit was number 5. I've deleted it, and so now it's deleted the link. So 2 ways to do the link is highlight them both, click on the unlink, or just go to the predecessor column and change it up. So here's some people sort of trying to do 2 at a time, doesn't work. Okay. You want to put this up a little bit more?
你在哪里？
是怎么改变的？就是直接输入数字吗？
不是。If you want to see more of the screen, see that thing down the bottom there, just move that dial across. So you can do the same. So if you want to see more of the screen, you can just move the dial bottom right. Oh, okay. I'm not sure why you got that red line. You've done something amazingly.
Actually, you might have accidentally. It's a critical thing, so you might have accidentally activated the critical part. So don't worry about it. It's just showing you the critical path. If you want to
Fasten
that
it.
messy like that, so you can just take just move it across.
这个就
这里其实是箭头指向2这边，就是2这边，指向2这边，指到外面去，对，
Very simple one.
然后按住 Ctrl 点3，这个可以放很重，
That's amazing. I've never seen anyone do
就
that.
这么做。
You must be really talented.
然后它就自动出现这个数字。
然后如果你想要把它，你说取消不出来，取消的话你就直接上回去这边点，然后删除，对，它就不见了。
这个 link 就没有了。
对，
Highlight the predecessor.
哦，那他刚才说的是这个干嘛？这个不也
那个是
挺
cancel，那个是你要选第1、第2，然后点那个它就不见，就一样的事。
哦，都是 cancel。前这儿都是黄色的。
So with the triple one is about like that.
Yep. See the little three of them?
Yeah.
Yep. That's good. You did one at a time, eh?
Yes, I do one of them. 那个大的确实从哪来不知道。我懂了，可以起床了，我们可以飞了，我不怕了。
走完。
我上来看了，卖那个辫子，我知道了，他也不是很会。今天讲课了，
这就完事儿了。没有，后面还有呢。changing timetable。
你就问一下，碰到这个3个，就叫14点，就14点那个，然后你要先点这里的数字，再来按住 Ctrl 点这边，然后按点，一试。
就是等会儿，你这说这个。
所以如果你看它的话，它是先2.2，那就先点2.2，然后按 Ctrl 点3.1，点这不是3.2，然后不能按哪些，只能按一个，对，然后link，然后放下来，然后再点一次，再点一个2.4的。箭头那边点2.4的Ctrl，点3.2，再拎一下，就要挨一个点。 看出来它也不是很会，很清楚的，它也是江苏久了可能也。就是，会臭了，就点这个 process， 然后30块自己重复一下。
Okay, we've got to get moving because there's stuff to do. So, the last thing I want to show you, or last two things I want to show you, is you notice that there's this lead here, so construction drawings. So, are you familiar with what leads and lags are? Yep. So, construction drawings has got a lead. So, the detailed design only can be 2 weeks. 2 weeks. So this is 4 weeks, okay? This is the detailed design, 4 weeks. And then we've got the construction drawings. But then we look at it, we say, you know what? If the detailed design people, the construction drawings can actually start 2 weeks earlier. We can overlap it. Because these guys start with a design, they produce enough design for these drawings to start, and then they do it hard. So what's the advantage of having that lead there?
Well, it makes the overall time shorter.
It makes the time shorter, okay? So the other one is, we've got there, what's the example I've got there where there's lag?
Structure.
Okay, so the foundations, so there's the foundations, and there's the structure. So, the foundations are a reinforced concrete slab. Knowing what you do about concrete, is it a good idea to lay the slab one day and then go and walk on it the next? What happens? It breaks, it cracks, it hasn't reached its strength yet. So, what we say is we're going to have a lag between when we finish the foundation and when we start the structure, because we need a little bit more time for the foundation to form full strength before we start stuffing around with it. Okay, so that's what lead and lag is. And the way you add them in is you... so let's look at the first one first. So, construction drawings, if I get on there and I right click, whoops, I get to, I get on there and I go into my right. Okay, so if you go into so this one here, we want to add a 2-week lead. So in other words, there will be, this will move back to there. So what I do is I go right click, information. Okay? And then you'll draw that up. So what this is this is task information. You can see that there's all this sort of stuff here. One you want to look at is predecessors. So you can see there's the detailed design and there's the lag. So it's talking about lag. So positive 2 weeks would be 2 weeks lag. But we're talking about 2 weeks lead. So what would that be? Minus 10 days. So once I put that in there, it puts my lead in. Likewise for the structure, I go in there, I right click, I select information, I go to predecessors, and I put in 5 because I want some lead. Okay? So it's basically select the task, add in, right click, get information, go to the predecessors, and just add in the lead of that. Okay, we're going to move on because we need a break. So the last thing I want to do is I want to show you what I forgot to do here is I forgot to put in another task which I wanted to do was project finish. Because, yeah, I'm sort of finishing in the middle of December or something like that. So what I'm going to do is, you can see that it's automatically made it a child of that, and I don't want that, so I'm going to highlight it, and I'm going to move it backwards. So now it's all by itself, you see? And I'm going to make it 0, and I'm going to link it to the one above it. So just looking at this, I can see that I'm finishing on the 27th of December. Not ideal because that means I'm working 3 days through Christmas. So what I'd be doing next is I'd be going through and trying to find another week to shorten it by. So I might look at this and go, there's the critical task. If I can get the building permit in 4 weeks, I can get it done by the 20th. So here's what so at present we're working through Christmas, not going to happen. So I've looked for critical tasks and you track it through. There's critical, that's critical. If I can get the building permit in 4 weeks, then I finish on the 20th of December. So that's what Microsoft Project allows you to do. We're finished on the 27th of December, not going to work. The guys are not going to work through Christmas, so I need to find a week back. So if I reduce the building consent period for 4 weeks, then I can finish it on the 20th and everyone gets to have their Christmas break. So that's what Microsoft Project allows you to do. Now we're a bit behind time because there's another thing I want to show you. So 5 minutes, if you could be back at 3:30 please, and we're going to do one last thing, okay? So if you've got any problems, stick around, put your hand up and I'm willing to help you. We're going to start with another chart, so you get another shot of it. You guys alright? Just
那个人加多少天那什么没有怎么样的，
加天这种，现在是那个点中间这个神经，然后再就是这个这里，然后看一下它的 X， 这个地方还有 lead， 还有 like 是加，lead 是减，所以这个是 two big lead， 你要加10天，我不知道为什么要
这哪加？
这里 like 这里，这个地方是要放减10天，因为是 lead，
所以不是在这儿。
这上面其实是在这里，这下面那个关机，还是说你可以右键？information， 你好，那是这里。先把全部删除，要减，先来一个减，10力，OK。这是地方，他其实应该是14天，但是他把那个周六日给排除了，不是，然后这就是就这样5天， 这样就不要打了，
这样不用了。
这样就5分就行。因为它会自动生成机啊。OK，
没有变啊。
不要近点 OK。不变。然后这个地方已经领了 ，OK， 结束。所以，列就是说，我们可以重复做，这个程序。然后赖的话就是要先休息1天，就像这个是他要做那个 slab 嘛，做那个水泥 slab 嘛，我们还要等它干，所以就是还有1个星期等它干时间，就放来。这个我做我不会做，
看起来不难。
太简单了，在我看来太简单。这种软件问题，没那么难。Still don't know how you got those red lines.
Sorry， 我听得到。
这还是踏不回去了，这踏不回去了，因为是专业的，他一定就 OK。因为这碰我就是你等一下会更红的话，你看这些问题是我是说一下
40。
你这个走以后它会全部都坏掉的，它会全部坏掉的，你不用管了，你还点保存？
为什么不玩呢？Why not？
点保存的话你就没办法改。
可以改啊。
好吧。
我不保存就一口关了，我们什么都没了。
有2个解决方法，你这2个解决方法
是吗？
你都说错了，你为什么会放弃呢？你就会去干什么呗？还可以换颜色，靠！然后就变黑了。
我操！我手动给的。
哎呀，这个叫外挂。还是回去延产吧。
不知道。
可以看得出来，它不是那么轻的。that's good.
就是说，对。 这个不需要，不能改，对吧？
他说最好黑色的不要动，黑色的不要动，
黑色就是
所有黑色的是不要动，对，
就加粗的，对吧？
他说的这里要不要动，其他的可以动。没事，
为什么我这个是这样的颜色？是
知道了。他被你骗了。我都是该改的。我都改了。
Spoke to them to come back and we'll
这个是因为你写完你换成的时候，你没有去 option 设定它，所以第一个打开过程就是要先写 option， 先去把 option 做完，然后
就是这个，然后改哪儿？这个
对，然后这边放 day 和 day。
对，
两个都是 day， 然后我就会看一下这块有没有点，没有点
这个要
点，
是不是有点，然后就 OK 了。然后
第一个先做这个，然后第二个是做 project，
就这样，一个 information，
看天，哪一天是 start， 那是刚看的，
不能选今天，所以要选下一个。然后这个要改吗？
不用，
这不用改，
只改那个。
后面都不用改，
对，只会这个
OK 就好了。
刚才先不一样，下一个来做。他可能没有把，他可能把那个他上对，WBS
Okay, very long message. So you out here just straight away, and that's what they want.
可能你没有改天。
改天，
没换到。
后面那个没有。
不知道。调到。所以你现在是跟他们同步，跟我们同步。所以第一个就是去 option， 第二个就是不正，第三个就是这个动作，不然就会有问题。感冒了哈，
感冒快好了。
都会到夏天了才感冒，夏天都会过，冬天都过了才感冒。你的身体素质，你体质好像跟别人不一样。这个再打一下吧，我感觉应该完成。
打什么？
大概给我再来15分钟给你。剪，没那么难。
Okay, let's go. Right, so we're going to do this exercise here, which is this. So have a look at that. We're going to start a new project, okay? So first thing we do is we add the WBS column. So that's go to task name, right click, insert column, and WBS. Make it a bit thinner and make things a bit better. Also, I need to set up my schedule again. So go to options, schedule, automatically select, fixed durations, delete that, put that. Okay, so all that stuff we did before. Everyone with me so far? I can't focus because we have to move through really quick. We're about 10 minutes behind. Open a new one.
So, what date is it?
Oh, so start it next week.
Okay.
So let's give it the project information. Start Monday next week. Okay.
Monday this week.
So this one here, it's not multi-level. It is one level. So it's just a whole lot of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's not 1, 1.1, 1.2, 1.3 like we did with the last one. This one here, I just wanted to walk you through a simple version of what you need to do for your assignment. Okay? So, you can see that with the work we've got is so what are the activities we've got here? So establishment. So let's start with typing them in, eh? So establishment. What happens before the earthworks? Topsoil removal. Then earthworks. Access road. Rock wall. Retaining wall. Regrassing. Disestablishment. And project completion, project finish. Okay, you with me? Sorry? So basically, in your project, you'll find that I've pretty well given you the order in which things happen, and so you can come up with the WBS pretty quickly. As I said, this is one level. Your project will be 2, maybe 3 levels. Okay? Keep that in mind. Now, what I haven't given you in this is I haven't given you the durations. What I've given you is information that you can use to get the durations. So let's look at each one in turn. So calculating durations. So item 1, establishment. What's the duration of the establishment?
1 week.
1 week.
Yeah, duration equals 1 week. And then you could say from brief.
Times 80.
Okay, number 2 is topsoil removal. Just work with me here, don't sort of try to get ahead. So, topsoil removal. How do we calculate the topsoil removal?
Size of the site,
Okay, so we need to so the productivity rate we've been given is in what?
meters squared.
Meters squared,
right? So we're looking for meters squared. So we need to be calculating the area equals 60 meters by 100 meters equals 6,000 meters. Now, when you're doing your calculations, treat the reader like an idiot. Every line. I don't want you to just, all because you can do it in your head, doesn't mean you shouldn't put it on a bit of paper. Remember, when you get in the real world, your boss is going to be checking it, and he wants to see that you've done every step of the way. If you've made a mistake in your head, they can't retract it down. So, write it all down. It might seem that you're doing a lot more than what you need to, but that's fine. You need to make it very, very clear on how you arrived at what you arrived at. That's part of being an engineer. So the productivity rate is 80 meters squared per hour. Therefore, the duration equals 6,000 meters squared. And I can do this in my head, but I'm still writing it down. Meters squared per hour, and I'm putting units in. Always put units in, because if you're putting units in and you start stuffing up the units, you'll see it when you write it in. But if you just write 60 and you sort of got it wrong, you won't pick it up. So write in the units, we can say, okay, those units match. And how much do I end up with here?
75 hours?
75 hours?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's time, by the way. That's so the duration equals 75 hours divided by 8 hours per day. Which is what?
1.375, so round up to 10. Is that how it works?
Yep. 9.375, 9.4 hours. Days. Okay, do you put 9.4 days in your durations?
No.
Why not?
There's no half days.
There's no half days. Do you round it down to 9?
I think you can work for free.
Yeah. Then you subtract. What you're trying to do here is come up with a reasonable estimate for how long it's going to take you. Not the absolute, if everything goes really well, this is what it's going to be. And not, I'm just going to double everything because then I look really good because I brought it in early. Okay? You come up with a reasonable total. Now, this is topsoil removal. So let's do, say, 10 days. Okay, that seems reasonable. Just to by the by, if you were doing that in February, would 10 days be sufficient?
No.
Right.
Put it in the ground behind it.
Sorry. If you were doing it now,
Oh.
would 10 days be sufficient? Why not? Too wet. It's going to rain. So what you might do is you might look at that and say, 10 days, you know what, we're trying to do it in the middle of winter, dumb idea, we're going to add another 2 days risk. So that's perfectly legitimate, and that's what you do as an engineer. Okay, so keep that in mind that you might add a little bit, you're rounding it up and you add a little bit more. What you wouldn't do is you wouldn't say, okay, I've got 10 days here, I'm going to double it 20 days, and then when I bring it in on 11 days, everyone thinks I'm a bit of a hero. Okay, so you don't do it that way, but you do come up with a reasonable, you can add little bits on. Remember, this program, when they say bring it in on time, it is bring it in on time as per your program. You're the one that gets to decide what that time is. You're the one that says we can bring it in on this time. So what you don't want to do is you don't make it too hard for yourself, but you don't want to make it unreasonable. Okay, so keep that in mind. A lot of engineers, and they still do it now, is in time and cost estimations, try to reduce it. So they go and the client says, "What? It's going to cost $1 million? I don't know, can't you do any better?" Well, $900,000 then. You know, you say that, and then you bring it in for $1 million, and the client gets really shitty at you. Okay, so you need to make a reasonable estimate and stick to it. Even if the client is unhappy, that's how long it's going to take. If you want us to spend a bit more time, more resources, it's going to cost this much. You need to be straight up with them. All too often, engineers allow themselves to get bullied into it. Case in point, the casino. The Fletchers allowed themselves to get bullied by the government, by John Key, and they put in a very low ball price for the casino. It's cost them $500 million. They said, we'll do it for $500 million, or $500,000, which was pretty low. John Key sort of talked them down. Okay, now it's going to cost them $1 billion. There's $500,000, and John Key is not standing there with a bloody checkbook for them. Okay, they've been left out high and dry. It's cost the company $500 million, because they were just trying to keep a politician happy. So you always have to come up with a reasonable estimate and stick to it. Right, so let's look at the cost for this. So I'm just what the cost? So we've got looking at that. We've got calculating cost. Now you'll be doing this next session with Stuart, but let's just sort of do it. So let's just do for topsoil removal. Okay, so how many days? So the duration is how long?
10 days. 10 days.
Okay, so the cost is going to be how much? What resources do we need? So we've got an excavator and a truck, right? For 10 days. So it's going to be 10 days times excavator, which is $200 an hour, plus the truck, which is $100 an hour, times 8 hours a day. Okay, so that's 10 times 300 times 8, which is okay, I think. So that's the way you calculate the cost. Now, you've taken, so you know what the duration is, you know what the resources need to be, and so therefore you're just calculating the resources, these resources for that many days, how much is it going to cost for that particular item. So Stuart's going to show you next week where each one of those things you come up with a cost. You add them all up, boom, 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 and then that at the bottom, that is your budget. That's how much it's going to cost you to do the job. So that's what you're doing next week with Stuart. Okay, so just to get you sort of going on this, earthworks. I want you to calculate how much duration and cost for the earthworks. Let's have a go at that. Oh, and
Excavator truck and labor. 3,000 euro.
So instead of the 14, cross out the 14 metres cube per hour
Oh,
and put 30,
three.
please.
30.
Yeah, so cross out the 14, put 30.
30. 30.
So, just have a go at that.
This is 400辆，换30。
为什么？
他打错了，就是你们的，他打错了。Okay, you run your time, so something. It's more
Okay, come on, get some numbers.
Sir, is that 23,000?
Is it?
Yeah.
Put that in my head. Is it 24,000, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is why they don't let me teach maths. Because I'm rubbish at it. And even Stuart's made some snarky comments about my maths ability.
Yeah, 30.
It's the same. 13 days. Excavator truck level.
Yeah.
Excavator truck 2 level 25.
That's actually pretty
Has anybody got a duration for me?
13 days?
Sorry?
13 days?
13, that's correct. Yep, good. How much? $33,800. 37.
37?
So remember, you got this case here. You got an excavator, a truck, and two labourers.
Yeah.
Or you missed the labourers.
No, they are all
Or have I got the number wrong?
25 times 13 times 8. Yeah.
Okay. So you've got
So we have changed the product rate with 30, right?
you got two labourers.
Yes. Got 2 labor there.
So how much for the excavator?
200.
Times the 8-hour day.
1,600.
So how much for the excavator? What did you guys get?
I got like 36,000.
Oh, 36,000.
36,400. I got 37,700.
Oh.
Guess it's a great mystery.
All the breaks. With the lunch breaks.
Oh yeah. Wait a minute. The labourers would be 10 hours a day.
Oh.
So the labourers would be 10 hours a day because you're paying them, but the excavator and the truck are only working 8 hours a day.
So they are not 8 hours. Okay,告诉我300乘8那件事。250了，加2千。
What was the answer?
Yeah, I got 37,700.
是100个小时，什么
Bingo.
3
Okay.
乘除30。
37,300. So that's good. So with your project, it's simpler than that because I have given you two teams, and I've just said team 1 does this, team 2 does that. So you haven't got 3, 4 resources. You've got 2, team 1 and team 2. So all you have to do is figure out how much is Team 1 cost per day, how much is Team 2 cost per day, how many days are they working on each task, and that's it. So it's even simpler than that. Okay, so let's just finish this off. Let's just finish what we came up with here. So let's just fill all these things in. So we've got establishment 5 days, topsoil removal 10 days, earthworks 13 days. So you can see I'm just using the arrow to click it all up. And I'll tell you what the other ones are. The access road was 2 days. The rock wall was 10 days. The retaining wall was 4 days. The regrassing was 8 days. Disestablishment 1 week, which is 5 days. And I've got my project finished, which is 0 days. So then we would do all the links. I'm just going to cheat. So once again, remember predecessor, successor, pick the link. And you should end up with it all finishing on, whoops, the 3rd of December. So predecessor, successor, link, predecessor, successor, link, where you can cheat like I did, just highlight them all. I wouldn't recommend that obviously because I'm lazy. So just reading it out, the establishment 5 days, topsoil 10 days, earthworks 13 days, access road 2 days, rock wall 10 days, retaining wall 4 days, regrassing 8 days, disestablishment 5 days, project finished 0 days. So I put the okay, so what we've done, so what we've done really quickly is we determined what the sequence was going to be, what the work break. So we did the work breakdown structure. Remember, we broke it down, then broke it down again. And there's different ways you can do it for your project. This is a real simple version. Your project is more complicated. If you are going to do it really quickly, which is part of the project, is you are going to have both teams working together.